Vice, you dumbass! Start making sense, you rotten book, or you're gonna be sorry. Maybe I'll rip your pages out one by one, or maybe I'll put you in the goddamn furnace! How can someone with such a big smart brain get hypnotized like a little bitch, huh? Oh, Shadow Lord, I love you, Shadow Lord. Come over here and give Vice a big sloppy kiss, Shadow Lord. Now pull your head out of your goddamn ass and start fucking helping us!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Expert Consultant with your host, Chris DickRson, and co-host
Cocoa D.
Today, we are honored to be here to talk to you guys about Nier and everything encompassing it. You probably have heard of Nier through Nier Automata. That's where the series has gotten popular, very popular. But there's a lot more to this series than just Automata and, in fact, Replicant coming out soon. This episode is dedicated to Replicant coming out. This series has been around since 2003. So there's a little bit to dive into. I kind of wanted to give people a knowledge drop on what exactly Nier is, because it's a lot more than meets the eye. But to start out, I wanted to talk about kind of my personal background and Coco's personal background with it. It is very closely tied together, how we both discovered it, and Coco showed it to me again. So I'm gonna let you open it up, Coco. How did you find Nier?
Well, back in the day when we were in our early college years, I had the free time that Dickerson would just be like, play this game. Never expect me to play it, but he'd tell me it and I'd go and play it. Nier was on the list of random ass games along with El Shaddai, uh, that
Deadly Premonition.
Castlevania game, Lord of Shadows, Catherine, and he mentioned Nier. And the moment I happened to be in GameStop at the time, and the moment he mentioned Nier, I was like, cool, all right, I guess I'm gonna try this out. Played it for a couple hours and immediately fell in love with it from the moment you start running around in the field and the Song of the Ages start playing.
Mm-hmm. And I had played Nier a few years ago, before this, back when it released in 2010. I was still young in high school. I didn't really play Japanese games much. I just kind of played whatever I saw. And I played Nier and I went through it. I loved it to death. But I just kind of left it after I finished it, got to the first ending, and I kind of just forgot about it. So when Coco was down living in Alabama, and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna try this Nier game," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember Nier. That's a pretty chill game." And then he finished it. I didn't expect him to, but he finished it, and then he
None of
discovered.
us expected me to finish it.
You discovered the endings, and there's a lot more to the game than just one ending.
Because I think it was actually you that told me there were multiple endings.
Yeah, but
which
I never did them.
Then the moment I played the second ending, I was like, oh, this isn't just another ending. This is more game.
What would you soon figure out in the Drakengard and Nier series is that it doesn't stop after the first ending. That's not the full story at all. You actually just got the basics of the complete story, and then when you do get to endings B, C, continuous on, you learn about the entire thing of what's going on, and it's like that through the entire series. So Nier is very similar. You need to play the other endings, and I never did that. So Coco sent the game to me when he was done with it, and I experienced the other endings, and from that point on, it stuck with me forever, and I became a huge fan. After that, we played Drakengard 3. We both got it at the same time and played the mind fuck that is that game.
Now, there are only two games that I can say that I've known more about than Dickerson. One was for like literally only an evening. I knew more about Persona than Nixon for a single evening. And the second was weirdly enough Drakengard, because I think I played and finished the first one
You did.
long before you did,
Yep.
which was another game that there should not have been a timeline in which I not only found that game but played it.
Yeah, I never for some reason wanted to, just never wanted to dive into it. I was like scared since it was on the PS2. And I guess so that gets us to it, right? We played Drakengard 3, and then long after that, we found Drakengard 1 in that pawn shop. You remember that?
Yeah, second in charge, I think. My buddy Terry got the first and second game because we happened to see it in the store.
Yeah. So that was years ago. And we just, we always promised to play it, but we never did, right? But first, I guess we got to get some background here. Nier is not just the Nier series. It is also the Drakengard series. Drakengard 1 through 3 is the story before Nier. It is setting up kind of the plot line, and it's its own realm of insanity. It's its own realm of incredible goodness that just that we know and love from Nier. It's a little bit on the harder side to go back to now because it is a Dynasty Warriors clone, a weird Dynasty Warriors clone, but it has some really fascinating like story elements that kind of elevate the game to be more than just a Dynasty Warriors clone. And Coco found it in Alabama, and when he came back here in Virginia, we never played it. We always promised to, but we just time and life got out of us. And then eventually you did play Drakengard 1. And what was your initial thoughts?
That game is an acid trip. It's a fantastic acid trip. But so I played it with our friend Charlotte, and we double teamed it because honestly, that game's really hard to play by yourself, mainly due to the grinding. We got through the first ending and we were like, okay, honestly, not much about this game makes sense. We guess it was kind of fun. And then once again, we found out there were what, like three more endings,
Yeah.
four
Yeah.
more endings, 3 or 4 more endings. And the moment we played the second ending, we were like, cool. So we're about to 100% this game because the story completely took off. We were like, oh no, we have to know everything, everything, everything.
is it gets really crazy, and like I think the story for me, just the first ending is really weird and good, but again, you don't really like you play through it, and it's a weird the way it tells its story is very odd. It's not traditional at all. It's not very like this doesn't come at you, doesn't like say this is what's happening, doesn't immediately explain it to you until you get to the other endings, in which you then see like it starts making more and more sense. And then by the end of it, you will still be confused. You will still be very confused. But that's when you can pick up all the extra manga and dive into the deep, deep lore there is if you really want to. But on its own, it's, I would say, a very satisfying experience.
Because honestly, when we were playing Nier, we didn't have too much interest in the series past Nier itself. Then I think that after you beat it, and we got to like the final ending, and we saw the heartbreakingness that happens there, we hit up the Wikipedia to like look
Yeah.
into Nier lore, and that's when we were like, okay, we got to track down the rest of these games because some wild stuff happens in this universe.
Yeah. And it's incredible. It's weird, and like I appreciate its weirdness, but it also like has something to say. It's like you do not get this type of content in any other video game, and it does it really dang well. It's not weird for the sake of weird. It's weird to like say something. And that's why I love Drakengard and Nier so much. So after Drakengard 1, we all finished that and played it and had a crazy time. Uh, we get to now. I'm not covering Drakengard 2 because both of us have not played it. We still need to play it, but a lot of people do not consider it a part of the Yoko Taro verse anyway. So I do want to get to it, but for now, for this conversation, I didn't find it immediately important. Uh, moving on to Drakengard 3, when we played that, I think it was 2012, 2013, one of those.
Drakengard 3 came out later than that in America.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, we were out of high school by that time.
Yeah, because it came out in 2013, so I'm pretty sure we played it the summer of 2014.
Okay, yeah, I think we did play 2014. Wow. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, we played Drakengard 3. And man, that game, I think in high school we accepted a lot of things about it, but I tried going back to it about 6 months ago. It does not run well. It is a rough game in every aspect to where I just like, if they just kind of, they will never do this, but if they ported it to new systems and just kind of made it run well, it could be a lot better. It could be so much better. It's just sad. I don't know why. It kind of,
Visually, I always thought Drakengard 3 was a gorgeous game.
oh, it's a gorgeous game. It just runs very poorly. It has a very slow frame rate. It has a lot of technical issues, but visually, I think the art style is striking.
I played a lot of video games, and the final battle of that game is still one that haunts me.
Oh yes, Drakengard 3 final battle still is as difficult as Drakengard 1's final battle. I think harder. Um, it's just insane. Like continue. That's a common thread that we're going down. Is just insane is the word for everything. But at its heart, Drakengard 3 tells a really like interesting story as well. Just a lot of stories that a lot of people just don't want to touch on because they're kind of like they're weird, right? They're very risky storytelling because you were very likely not going to like it, and a lot of people did not like it for a long time. I think every Drakengard game is not for the mainstream to enjoy. You have to have a very niche interest in video games to really kind of enjoy how weird Drakengard is, and just kind of like Drakengard 3 is about killing sisters and like that scream with a weird rhythm game. It's very odd, and at the time I think too strange for people, and it's sad, right? I Since then Japanese media has become more accepting, like a lot of people are accepting of it. People will be more okay with weirdness, as you see in Nier Automata being such a big hit, and Persona 5. But at the time in 2014, it was still a growing thing. And also, just being a technical disaster doesn't help it either. But it still has its fan base. And I do love Drakengard 3. I'll always stick by it. And so after Drakengard 3, it took until 2017 when Nier Automata came out. Nier Automata, I'm going to get the pronunciation right, changed the game. I would consider Nier Automata to be one of the video games that revolutionized the industry in 2017. I would say,
So what's crazy about that is that when we played Nier, there was no scenario, no reality which me and DickRson ever thought this game would come to America. It wasn't even like we would joke about it all the time.
yeah,
We
no.
truly did not believe we'd ever get this in America. Why would we? Back then, when Nier dropped, when Drakengard was a thing, games like this did not exist in America. And when they did, they like Drakengard, they didn't do great.
Yeah, the original Nier bombed hard here in America. And yeah, why would we ever get a sequel to that? You know, this weird game that didn't review that well. And honestly, like it didn't sell at all well either. Why would we get a sequel to that?
Because
Well,
this is all fresh off the belt of like Persona 4 Golden, which we've talked about before as what started the popularity of these games in America.
yeah.
So like back then, like it's like as you saw, Golden wasn't enough to get Drakengard 3 to the popularity that Nier Automata is. It was just there's no way like as weird as these games are, it's truly baffling as someone who's been in this culture for a very long time to finally see it to the point where like it's winning awards and it was one of the most popular games of the year in America.
Yeah. A freaking sequel to Nier. It was one of the best-selling games of the year. We could have never
Which
imagined
means
it.
not only did people who like games like that play that means that normal game, like quotation marks, normal gamers also saw this game, picked it up, and enjoyed it.
Yeah. And because I think Nier Automata, it's weird because that game in of itself, in a weird way, like because of how big the game industry has gotten, a lot of it I think is people picking up on it, like reviews, Metacritic's bigger than ever before. People check out reviews more than ever before. And I think 2017 was that perfect storm of AAA titles really bombing. And then games like, well, people turn to, okay, what is the best reviewed game of the year? Wow, this Persona 5 has a 96 on Metacritic. Oh, this Nier game has a freaking, I think, 89 on Metacritic. Like, people just, okay, I'll try these games out. And then you quickly learn that there's a lot more to it. And the gameplay had finally reached a point where to be a lot more accessible to mainstream audiences, it plays more like a Devil May Cry. And thanks to Platinum Games developing it, it plays more easier for a lot of people. And that was the gateway point. And when you dive in, you do see that the story is very interesting. You see how weird it is, and a lot of people just like, okay, it's a mind fuck, sure. But when you do get to those other endings, you do see just how good that storytelling is and just how good the themes are. In my opinion, Nier Automata might not be my favorite game in the franchise, but I think it's the best by a long shot. Just I think Yoko Taro finally got what he wanted to say down, and he said it in the most perfect way possible.
Now, what I'm hoping with Nier Replicant, like you said, the original Nier did not do well here. I'm hoping with Automata being so popular, people play this new Nier game, and of course, I want them to go back and play the original. But just playing this one and like appreciating just, even though it's crazy and honestly the first playthrough kind of nonsensical, that weirdness, and this is coming from me, someone who hates not having answers. All that does is each ending gets you more into it. Like it makes you like, it's very rare that I find a game that makes me want to go back and replay it, even though I just finished it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I guess segueing into Nier Replicant coming out soon, that's where we are. We have gotten a freaking remake, a remaster. They don't like calling it either. They just call it in the middle. Uh, we are getting we are getting a second chance at Nier. And to give a little background on Nier, for people who don't know, Nier, there's two Nier games, like Pokemon games. There's Nier Gestalt and Nier Replicant. In America, we only got Nier Gestalt, which the difference is the main character is a father trying to protect his daughter. In Nier Replicant, the story is about a brother trying to save his sister. Everything aside from that is basically the same, aside from the story in and of itself. Now, the basic thought is that back in 2010, Square Enix thought, okay, in order for Nier to have a chance to make money, we need to change up the story. We need to make it more relatable to a Western audience. And they tried doing that. Obviously, it did not work. And Nier Replicant stayed over in Japan for forever until now. So with this second revival, they decided to finally bring Nier Replicant over to the States, or to the rest of the world, and to show us kind of what we missed. So we are not only experiencing the game over again, we're also experiencing a brand new game in and of its story, which is what I'm most excited about.
And they're bringing back all like the original English voice cast. And one of my favorite characters in this game is the character Grim Vice, and he's voiced by Liam O'Brien, and it's so good. I love his voice acting in this game.
It's incredible. Like, I think all the voice actors for their time and even now, it's like they are really good. They've always been incredible. And just it's so great to have the cast back because it doesn't always happen. It's rare. It's just nice to see this old group of people who don't really do anime much anymore. It's nice to see them come back together in this little, not so much obscure anymore, but this little weird Japanese game.
And honestly, just getting to hear Laura Bailey just have the like mouth of a veteran sailor is fantastic to me.
It's so good. And what makes Nier so good is like at the time, I will defend Nier original Nier's gameplay. I don't think it was ever bad. I know a lot of people didn't care for it, but I actually thought it was good. But hey, they've brought in some team from Platinum. Platinum's not developing Nier Replicant, but they did bring in some team to help work on the gameplay. They've completely redone the gameplay. It's a brand new story for us. They've redone the music. They've added new music and they've remastered some of the music. So we get new music content. And oh boy,
Which Nier music is in my top 5 best video game soundtracks.
I'm going to butcher his name. I'm sorry, but Keiichiro Okabe, the composer of the Nier music, and Emmy Evans, the vocalist for the Nier music, is some of the best video game music out there. For me, right behind Umetsu's Final Fantasy soundtracks, like right behind it. It is best in class.
God, it's after I played this game, I listened to the soundtrack for Nier. I've actually been listening to it recently to get ready for the new game on repeat. It's just half the languages aren't even real languages, and it's still absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, the way they interpret the chaos language and sing it is just incredible and truly just like really talented too, to be able to just like create just a random language and turn it into such really good music. Uh yeah.
Same goes for the Drakengard games. Like the Drakengard 3 has one of my favorite soundtracks. It's like when you battle these characters called the Intoners, they have this track that plays backwards, and it's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's just the music for in the entire series and is truly best in class. And that's something that a lot of people like always stick on, right? It's always a thing when talking about the games, but it's never been like as focused on as it should be, in my opinion. Uh, but it should be appreciated. But wow, Nier Replicant. I am incredibly excited for this game.
I still
I'm
can't believe it's coming here.
yeah, yeah. To this day. Wow. Yeah,
That's
I'm
the world we live in, and I love it. Just the fact that like we live in the timeline where Near Replicant is about to drop in America, and it's a big deal
yeah,
in
that
the gaming world.
that on that survey I took, there was a majority of people that had heard of Nier Replicant. That's how crazy things are. It,
I wish I could go back in time and tell little us like, hey, in about not even that long, it's been less than 10 years. You're gonna get this game. Neither of us would believe older us,
oh
but
yeah.
still,
I
it's been what, 5 years?
yeah, I had just
7
assumed
years.
we 7. I just assumed we'd never get Nier Replicant. I mean, why even hope for it, right? Like we just brother Nier, why would we care? But now look at
That
us.
being said, we were equally surprised of getting Automata.
Yeah, they really gave that series a second chance, and I'm so glad they did, and I think they are too. It's just to me, it's a win all around. It's a win for art and video games. It's a win for Japanese video games. It's a win to appreciate something that a kind of genre that does not get appreciated much, and that should be celebrated.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, well, whew, I guess that about does it. For final words, I just want to say the Nier/Drakengard series is a very important series to me. It's a series that has always been like just drowned in weirdness, but also says something amongst that. And I couldn't love it anymore. I will always appreciate Nier Automata for just changing the landscape in a really powerful way, for telling a story that's really important. And I'm very excited for people to experience Nier Replicant story because it does have an interesting things to say in a way to make people think that more than like indie games, like than not only indie games can do. Um, but yeah, any final words, Coco?
I think you covered it all. I just can't wait for this game.
Whew. All right. I'm going to play us out with some fantastic Nier music. And
Yeah.
everyone, play what you want to play, especially Nier.